Hello and welcome to WilmingtonBiz Talk, presented by the Greater Wilmington Business Journal. Today, we're going to be talking about Genesis Block, a company that helps other businesses start and grow, especially those owned by minorities and women. And we'll be discussing that with the co-founders of Genesis Block, Tracey and Girard Newkirk. But first, we will hear a message from our sponsors.
Hello, I'm Ann Gardner, CEO of Cape Fear Realtors. Realtors support this program's efforts to connect our community in meaningful dialogue with actionable insights. Realtors are dedicated professionals who build strong, resilient communities and businesses. Work with someone you can trust. Work with a realtor. Learn more at capefear.realtor.
So we are talking today with Girard and Tracey Newkirk, and Girard is CEO of Genesis Block, and Tracey is president of Genesis Block. Appreciate you guys being on today. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, CC, for having us.
So you guys started Genesis Block last year, and it has grown rapidly in that time. You're serving a lot of companies. Can you talk a little bit about how far you've come since you guys started?
Yeah, the last time, thanks, CC, for having us. The last time we did this, I think we were at Hilton Head. It was before we even had one company. So,
right. Yeah, you were.
So since then, we've come a long way. Now we have 80 organizations that are a part of our community here at Genesis Block. We have 54 companies that we provide specific business development services for, whether it be co-working or some type of consultation. And we have 38 resident companies that participate in our entrepreneur programs. So from where we were August 2020 to where we are now in October 2021, Tracey and I have been running around a little bit, but we feel that one of our goals was obviously to build the entrepreneur class, but we also wanted to become a hub for entrepreneurial activity in the Wilmington area. And we want to serve as the anchor organization for minority and women business development here in the southeastern North Carolina. So with the growth in the companies, obviously, with the things that we've done to develop the technology platform, ANZA, which I'm sure we're going to talk about in a little bit, and the growth of our Entrepreneur Academy, we feel that we're well on the way toward achieving our goals with the Cape Fear Build a Block plan and also our personal company goals over the next 24 to 36 months.
Right. Yeah, I was reading something that you'd written about the increase in revenue among the resident companies. So that's sort of obviously a measurable thing. And it looked like it was like, how much would you say it grew?
We for the third quarter of this year, our resident companies brought $728,000 worth of revenue back to this community.
And I think it's important to note too, that's a great point, that when we started tracking this, our first cohort started the 4th week in January. That was Team Tsunami, and they graduated in May. So when we initially began, because what we did is we measure our performance through obviously the number of companies that we want to help support, but their revenue and their revenue increase and how many employees, job creation. So the first time we collected data from our companies, the revenue was about, I think, $107,000 total. And so for us to jump literally 6X, for our company, we should say to jump 6X, we're so proud of these companies and we're so proud of the community, showing that entrepreneurship is a pathway toward prosperity and community reconciliation.
Right. And I think we were talking, Girard, you had mentioned that, I don't know if you were surprised, but it was interesting to see how many companies were out there, people wanting to start companies.
I mean, we're actually, and this is part of, I know we're going to talk about our innovation corridors later. We've actually had about 171 companies collectively apply for some type of program, whether it be our Minority Accelerator or our Jumpstart Academy. So we literally turned away, dozens of businesses here in the area. And so it's really made us as a company reflect on what we could be doing if we had more capacity to support these small business owners and entrepreneurs here locally. That's why we wanted to highlight that revenue number. You know, economic development is not very tangible. The measurable outputs are sometimes hard to forecast and sometimes hard to get clear, particularly the local leaders and people in the space. So we have built Genesis Block on measuring the outputs that matter to the community, and obviously revenue, employees, and all those things are components of that. And so we feel that this third quarter is almost a precursor of what we can do in this community if we have the capacity to support these small businesses and entrepreneurs.
And Tracey, you guys have hired folks of your own recently for Genesis Block. You're creating jobs through your Genesis Block too.
Yes, we brought on a community manager, and her primary focus is engagement with our members and engagement with the larger community as whole, and bringing, really supporting those efforts of us becoming that entrepreneurial hub, creating the environment where entrepreneurs want to be and hang out and can learn and grow from each other. And then we're very fortunate. We have a work study person on with us from UNCW in digital marketing. And that is going to help us tremendously, because not only do we need to market what we're doing at Genesis Block, we also try to, part of what we give back to our businesses is helping them market what they have, their events, their promotions, especially their product launches. And so having a team of people, having him here, helping us with that marketing piece is going to be really important. And my goal is to get us an education coordinator, because we have 4 areas that we primarily, we have our basics, which are the early start, you got an idea, and you want to see if you can monetize it. And then we have our Jumpstart Academy, which we're getting ready to graduate a class on Tuesday night, at cohort Tuesday night. We're really excited about that. And that's where you come in and validate your business idea, and really put some bones around it. And then we're fortunate that Corning has given us the funding to build out our first real small business incubator. We've done this, what we're on our second class for the accelerator, and our second class for the Jumpstart. Our real need is right in that middle piece of the incubator, where small businesses can come in and really formulate that business model and test it and do the experiments that are necessary to make sure it's a solid model. And so we're building that out, and then our accelerator as usual. So really, we're looking forward to being able to get an education coordinator on to kind of coordinate those services. Yeah.
Wow. And so, but you guys also have, as much as you've grown in the past year, you guys also have big plans to grow even more. So if you want to talk about the innovation corridors that you envision.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you did a great story about Castle Street, the project there that we are hoping to move forward with HIP Architecture and McKinley Builders. Essentially, what we want to develop, we call them innovation corridors. Essentially, what it is bringing small business and entrepreneur resources directly to communities that in the past have been underrepresented. And so what Castle Street represents for us, being it right in the center and right in the hub of economic activity in the community, it gives us an opportunity to demonstrate what this innovation corridor model will look like. So as I said earlier on, we're turning a lot of companies away just because we don't have the capacity. So we want to take one of those buildings, which was the Wave Transportation Facility, convert it into a new Genesis Block campus. It's about 8,800 square feet of space in the building. So it will give us an opportunity to service probably 75 to 85 companies a year out of that. We're also going to have a very similar model than what we have for our location here at 20 Rice Alley, which will include event spaces, meeting room spaces, and co-working. And then the front building, we want to convert that into a food incubator. You know, we are also members of the Small Business Coalition, and we've done a lot of data to see where the real gap is for entrepreneurs in Southeastern North Carolina. And here at Genesis Block ourselves, 20% of our businesses are in food services, and they lack the infrastructure to get them to that point where they can bring their products to the market. We have a lot of catering companies. Commissary kitchens are direly needed here in Southeastern North Carolina. And so we want to bring this experience to Castle Street. We want to create a food incubator with a food galley. We partnered with Chef Keith Rose. I know everyone knows who Chef Keith Rose is and his tremendous commitment to sustainability into the community. And we want to use this as almost a lab to help us also help with some of our social issues. You know, food insecurity is a really, really, really big deal. So why not give the entrepreneurs and innovators an opportunity to try and tackle some of these problems in an environment where it's creative and it's innovative. So Castle Street for us represents the next step with Genesis Block, which to bring these innovation corridors, which is almost like an extended Genesis Block environment that will include some residential, will also include these startups, incubators, and experiences.
Okay, and you want to start with Castle Street, but have other probably other area corridors?
We have, and a lot of this is not public. We'll start with Castle Street, but there are 3 other areas that we're in deep talks with to extend the campus model as well and have a similar concept than what we proposed at Castle Street. 2 of the areas are right here locally in the Cape Fear region. As we said earlier on, we really want to be an anchor for minority and business enterprises here in the region. We partnered with NCIDEA to advance Black entrepreneurship. Specifically, we partnered with New Hanover County. So now at Genesis Block, we need to build the infrastructure to support that. And so building these innovation corridors helps us to do that. And it also helps provide an alternative to some other development models that have been looked at negatively as far as gentrification. Our model is the exact opposite. We don't export the value out of the community. We have local, and we import it and we create a recycling, if you will, of the capital, because these are local entrepreneurs. These are people that are right here in our area. And so all the productive components of their work and the give back to the community stays right here in the Wilmington area.
Okay. And shifting to your recently launched technology platform, ANZA, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, we recently, we had during MED week, we had our launch of ANZA. And just to give a quick overview, it's a technology platform that connects minority and business enterprises with prime contractors, with developers and local municipalities. The goal of this is to increase minority participation in the contracting process. We do a lot of marketing for minority and women-owned businesses. And throughout this process, a lot of the feedback that we got from construction companies, from prime contractors and developers was that they didn't really have a mechanism to get viable trade partners. They couldn't get the outreach, they couldn't connect with them. And there were also opportunities with them having the capacity to complete some of the jobs. So we're beginning a pilot of ANZA next month. Monteith Construction is a participant, New Hanover County, and also multi-state trusts. These are going to be the 3 organizations. We have kind of 3 different problem sets, if you will, that we're helping support them with. And so we're going to start this in 3 weeks. So we're going to look for a lot more information about that. Genesis List is our website for Black-owned and minority-owned businesses as part of our marketing efforts. And then the ANZA is going to be the technology or the application to connect everyone. And we have to give a really special shout out to Castle Branch. They were our lead sponsor. Brett and Joe have been tremendous in their efforts to advance entrepreneurship. So we've been developing this project with them over the last 9 months. So we're very excited to see it get to the stage of pilot.
Okay, so it's at the pilot stage. Yes. Okay. Kind of question. I'm not sure what the question is. It says, I'm hoping that this is on Facebook. I'm hoping that you were talking about your technology for viewing and not the outstanding work that Genesis Block is doing. I don't know if she means
I think what she's responding to, I think they were saying their technology's not working. And so when we down so I hope you're talking about your technology and not the outstanding work of Jen. So I think that's what that was a response. So I saw that pop up.
I was like, I'm trying to figure out what the question is. Okay. Well, so you guys have mentioned throughout our conversation the support you've received from the community, from so New Hanover County. You received an economic development incentive. And so how helpful are things like that when you're trying to grow something like Genesis Block?
For us, it's very, very helpful and very necessary because, you know, our underserved communities are, you know, where we focus on. Our whole goal is pathways to prosperity. And we feel like economics is the great equalizer in entrepreneurship as far as reconciliation in our community. And so we want to be an economic development engine. And so the support that we get from the city and the county in that space, you know, Girard asked a question last night at the meet the candidates around, you know, we go after the buffaloes, but, you know, what do we, you know, I forget what was your exact quote.
We got to give David a slingshot.
Yeah, how do we give David a slingshot? And we see our small businesses as our Davids going up against the Goliaths, the big businesses. And so when the city and county supports us and what we're doing, that's like giving David and our small businesses that slingshot, giving them an opportunity to build out and grow in the same community where they're going to get the big buffaloes and bring them in, because we've shown that their economic return to the community is just as valuable as, it may not be as much, but it's just as valuable.
Yeah, and when you take the multiplier effect, I think it is more. I know we got math guys can get into that and talk more to that, but yeah, we talked about this last night at the Meet the Candidates. You know, 80% of the new jobs that have been created in the United States over the last 7-8 years have come from new business formation. So it's time that we look at allocating resources to what really does drive job growth in this new day and age that we live in, and it's new business formation. And I know there's a lot of chatter on what that really means, but it really helps a lot when you have city, county, and other agencies truly understanding what drives job growth and what drives prosperity.
Right. And you guys can tell me if I'm getting this right, but so speaking of funding, I think I've read that historically, Black-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, and women-owned businesses have not had as much access to capital as others. Is that something you guys talk about with your groups in Genesis Block?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of infrastructure to support high growth companies, technology companies, biotech companies. You have VCs, you have angel investors, you have this extensive network of financial tools, instruments, and assets to support them, and they do really well. But there's not that same real level of infrastructure to support small businesses, lifestyle entrepreneurs, mom and pops. And data is beginning to show that these components of the entrepreneurial ecosystem are what's really driving the job growth. So that's been our focus. You know, I was raised literally when it comes to startup out in Silicon Valley. So I got a real world view on what that environment looks like as far as angels and VCs and the infrastructure. And so part of our goal with coming back home to Wilmington is supporting David, giving David a slingshot. And this complex work, it takes a lot of collaboration and partnerships. And we're so proud and supportive of, and so proud really of the Wilmington community for allowing us to sit down at the table and begin to figure out some of these dynamics so we can provide David slingshots around the community.
Yeah. And one of the things that's important, that the reason that each entrepreneurial hub and creating the collaboration, you know, our tagline is community, collaboration, and creativity. When we want to see long-term success of our businesses, having that support system, when we wake up in the morning, we wake up to several conversations that have been going on in our Slack channels amongst the cohorts, where they have each other to lean on, they have each other to ask questions, they support, their influence and their base of customers now becomes the next team members' base of customers because they're doing things together. And I mean, you can't really put a price tag on that type of collaboration and what it does to the long-term sustainability of one of the small businesses. Not feeling like you're out there by yourself all the time, and then having the support of other small businesses to help you grow is really important. And when we started out, we talked about, we want to bring back Main Street block by block and bring back those businesses that were the cornerstone of every community. And we talk a lot about what our culture looks like. And we believe that small businesses are what builds the culture of a community. So the more we can get them into a collective group that supports each other and they grow, the more we'll see them popping up on the street corners, in the innovation corridors, because that's why the innovation corridors are so important. If we're going to grow all these businesses and we want them to have long-term sustainability, we got to have somewhere for them to go as well and help with that entryway into the marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
On Facebook, Heather McWhorter with the CIE and the Small Business Technology Development Center was making the point that it can be easy for minorities and women to start businesses, but where we see success fall apart is scaling and long-term survivability. What do you think are the top 3 things that can be done to ensure long-term success and scaling? I'll give you like a little time to think about that, but yeah. Sure.
Our focus is, and that's a great question, Heather. And I think knowledge, skills, and strategy are the underlying reasons for that, the high failure rate. The capital comes, or scalability should come after you've developed a business model that's sustainable and repeatable. And we've seen this real world where the real challenge is getting to that point where they can get the customers, like you said, they can get buzz, get traction. But now do they have the resources to develop the skills, the knowledge, and get a bona fide strategy to develop a 3 to 5 year sustainable business? So the access to capital is one component, but what we find a lot, particularly in our work here in Wilmington, is companies have to have that education. They have to have the foundation to make relevant and qualified business decisions. You know, the number one reason why startups fail is because they build a product that no one wants. The number 2 reason why they fail is misappropriation of time and resources. Mm-hmm. So we try and mitigate that with our Entrepreneur Academy, and we meet at Genesis Block at the nexus of that entrepreneurship training, and then sending them out into the market to launch and to go to the next level.
Because when we talk about capital, if you don't have the knowledge, the skills, and the strategy to put the capital in the most appropriate place to really grow your business, to understand what your growth strategy is well enough to know where to put the capital, then just giving capital is not going to, because it's going to not, it'll be used in a way that doesn't move the business forward, and then it's not sustainable. If you don't have the 2 together, you know, just giving capital without the knowledge, strategy, and the skills is not great. And then you have great knowledge, strategy, and skills, but you don't have any capital to move forward. It needs to work together.
It's got to be a continuum. Success is a process. It's not a mechanism. And, you know, that's the way we treat it.
Okay. And for my last question, when do you hope to have, like, what's your goal, kind of timeline for when you hope to have like that first innovation hub, innovation corridor up and running?
Knock on wood. We want to break ground next year, probably first, second quarter. But, you know, there's a lot of mitigating circumstances. There are a lot of nuances, but we're going to go ahead and speak it into the universe. And we're going to help let the universe conspire to make it happen. So we're going to say around second quarter of 2022. And then the other projects that we're working on, one area in particular, that city is really committed to developing their minority and women business infrastructure. So they've come up with a very comprehensive plan that's going to allow us to have the resources to move into that location. So that actually may be a little bit faster than some of the things that we're working on here locally. But we, you know, this is home. And so we want to develop and build out the ecosystem here. But, you know, we want to build an entrepreneur class around the country, around the world. So as opportunities come up, you know, we'll position ourselves to move our models there as well.
All right, and you'll let us know what city you're talking about at some point soon.
CC, I'm going to text you directly on your first.
All right, thank you guys for being on again, and we will check in again with you at a later date to see how things are going. And thanks for being on Biz Talk. Have a great afternoon.
All right, thanks so much, CC. Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.